Hi everyone, it's Sabrina on a very gloomy, wet looking October afternoon, and today I'm doing a book review on Across the Universe. This is by Beth Reeves, and it's the first in the Across the Universe trilogy of YA romance sci-fi books. I will admit I wanted to read this purely because of the rather stunning, almost classic YA romance cover. It's very picturesque, and I think it sums up kind of what the reader should be expecting from this book. So I found a copy of it in my library and I read it. I think it took me 4 or 5 days, maybe on and off, to get through it, and it wasn't as good as I was hoping, which is a shame. Everything about that cover screams romance at you. No, it's not a romance. It's, I think if I want more romance, I'll read some Outlander. Thank you very much. Because the two leads, they have very little chemistry. And actually, the romance that I thought would actually be nicer to happen wasn't allowed to happen. And it's just like, no, okay, so this isn't a romance book, which might explain why the books have now been given a totally different cover, which is emphasising more the sci-fi element of it. This is certainly a sci-fi story. It's set in our far future. We're on what I would call an ark ship, which is cryogenically frozen people who are going to become the first colony. And on this ship, they've got a group of people who are basically there to keep the ship going. Although, yeah, as usual, things don't always go to plan. There are lots of lies and there are lots of secrets. And unfortunately, by about 100 pages in, I've already twigged where this is going, and the fact that actually it seems very familiar to a lot of other sci-fi arc ship stories that I have read, from the more sort of older sci-fi writers that are in the market. So unfortunately, nothing was new in this story, which was a real shame actually. I would say if you've never read any sci-fi arc colony ship stories, then you probably will enjoy this one. But unfortunately, it's got all the classic tick, tick, tick that an arc ship book should have. The big lies, the murder mystery, the secrets, the corrupt head, it's all there. And it's all pretty obvious to pick up on. So then you fall back on the romance, and the romance is just like almost non-existent, which is a shame. Never mind. It does try and pose some interesting questions about how would we survive on a colony ship? How would generations of people survive being on this ship together without knowing an earth? What that would do to a society? How a society would try and cope with never knowing a sky or anything outside the metal walls of your ship. But like I say, I've kind of read all that before, so it wasn't telling me any new ideas, but it wasn't afraid to tackle those ideas, and I thought that was quite good. There's certainly some very interesting moments that appear about 2/3 in, when you really start getting some information about what is going on. And I quite liked a lot of that. That was certainly very interesting. And it's like, yes, it's nice to see this played out as I thought it was going to be played out. Some people will say, well, weren't you disappointed that there was nothing excitingly surprising in there? No, sometimes I like to know exactly where the story's going to go and be taken along on that journey. I don't always want a great big surprise. Sometimes I read for comfort reading. There is attempted rape in this book, and there is certainly a lot of alluded to threat of rape. So it doesn't come out of the blue, it is built up to, but it's still a bit of a shocking moment when it does happen. So if that area is sensitive for you, please be aware that does happen in this book. I also liked how that instance was kind of dealt with, and how the main character had to come to terms with it. It's kind of a little rushed. I'm sure there would be more trauma, and I don't know if that will be followed through in later books or not, but it's alluded to afterwards as something that she's not resolved with herself yet, and that she's still suffering from, which I thought was very good and very sensitively handled. The main characters, like I say, they don't have any spark or chemistry, and unfortunately the story is told from their points of view, and it is alternative chapters in first person voice, and that was fine until we started getting a page of a chapter, and then we changed to another voice, and it was a page of that chapter, and then back to the first voice again, and it was like half a page, and then back to the second voice, and it's like, okay, 2 pages. And then at one point there was like a line, and it's like, why have we switched voice for one line? It didn't do anything for the flow of the story. If anything, it destroyed the flow that was going on. I found it very jarring, and I have to admit, at one point I had to go and check which voice I was actually reading, because I'd completely lost who I was supposed to be following, and I'd mixed them up with the other character, which probably isn't a good sign either. So there we go. Anyway, Across the Universe, I won't be continuing with the rest of the trilogy, partly because it's so hard to get my hands on a copy of this book, and I don't want to go out and buy the next 2 and then be really disappointed with it. I'd rather wait and see if it comes up in the library and borrow it, possibly at a later point. But I'm in no hurry to read this trilogy. The first book offered me nothing new. I wasn't engaged with our main characters, which is a shame. This had a potential to be a really good book. And like I say, if you've not read any Ark ship colony like stories, then you'll probably like this one. But if you have, then you've read it before. This doesn't really bring much new to the table, I'm afraid. If first person narrative is a bugbearer for you, and this is written first person present as well, which is not my favourite form of reading. I find it very tedious, very annoying, but that's me personally. But if you can cope with that, then you'll be fine with what's in here. And if you're looking for like a proper heavy romancy book set in space, this isn't that book either. It is a solid sci-fi story, murder mystery / survival / thriller, really. So yeah, don't let the cover fool you ever, really. I think is the lesson I'm going to take away with this one. So there we go. Across the Universe by Beth Reeves. Have you read it? What did you think of it? If you liked it, that's great. Please let me know what your favourite part was, because I'd be interested to see how people's opinions and views are different from mine. All my social media links are in the description box down below. You can find me on Goodreads, Twitter and Instagram. I'm currently doing the Uncritical October Bookstagram challenge, which is all about fandoms. It's not too late to jump in and follow us. That'd be great. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and happy reading. Bye.